Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a pause on a federal grant could leave more than 100 East Tennessee families without after-school care. And several top-tier golfers are getting some of their first swings at Hurstbourne Country Club ahead of the PGA's stop in Louisville.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I'm Amelia Lee here with you on this July 8th. It's 6 o'clock this morning, and time to check on in with meteorologist Eric Dean today. Eric, it's hot, it's muggy, it's foggy. It's just a 0 out of 10 day for me.
You know what we call that here in Eastern Kentucky, Amelia? That's a Tuesday. Take a look here outside at Black Mountain. We're at 64 degrees. This is in Harlan County. Good morning to you folks in Harlan County. Feels like 64 out there. You can see a beautiful sunrise there on Black Mountain. Temperatures right now in the 60s and 70s. And Amelia talked about the visibility. Some places, especially towards the Harlan area, Williamsburg area, seeing near zero visibility. So if you have that fog in the area, please allow yourself extra time to get from point A to point B. Now, all is quiet on live pinpoint Doppler radar right now, but that will change as we go into the afternoon and evening hours, as we'll keep that storm chance in the forecast. You can see your morning commute right there. We'll see temperatures in the upper 70s and low to mid 80s. I'll have your complete first alert forecast coming up in a few minutes, but right now it is 6:01. We'll toss it back to Amelia.
Thanks, Eric. A 16-year-old is facing a murder charge this morning in Perry County. WYMT's Caroline Mueller joins us with the latest on this deadly shooting.
Deputies say the teenager shot and killed 63-year-old Wallace Cornett at a home in the Viper community. The shooting happened just before 2 p.m. Monday afternoon on the Middle Fork of Maces Creek Road. Sheriff Joe Ingle says Cornett was shot at close range with a shotgun. The teen suspect, whose name was not released, was taken into custody at the scene and is now charged with 1 count of murder.
There was a lot of family members here. A lot of the information we don't know yet, the motive, things like that we're still working on very early in the stages, but we do have enough probable cause to go ahead with a murder charge at this time.
Cornett's body will be taken to the state medical examiner's office in Frankfort for an autopsy Tuesday morning. The sheriff says the victim and suspect lived close to each other, but it's still unclear if they were related or how they knew each other.
Deputies have not yet released a possible motive. In Fort Gay, West Virginia, the former mayor and treasurer have now been indicted on charges of embezzlement, conspiracy, falsifying accounts, and more. Former Mayor Joetta Hatfield and former town recorder Sheila Bowen resigned late last year after the charges were first filed. Now, a Wayne County grand jury has returned an indictment against both. The two are accused of illegally diverting more than $370,000 of public funds over an 8-year period. A Dallas Cowboys football player is in trouble with the law. Police arrested Cavante Turpin in Texas on Saturday. He's facing 2 misdemeanor charges of marijuana, possession, and illegally carrying a weapon. Turpin was booked into the Collin County Jail and then released Sunday after he posted $1,500 bail. The Cowboys nor the NFL have reacted to this situation so far. A Hazard man was indicted by a federal grand jury on a kidnapping charge on April 27th. Officers with the Hazard Police Department received a call about that kidnapping. WYMT's Neely Green has those details.
When they arrived on scene, the complaining parties said that Andrew Oliver had taken a child from the residence and was intoxicated on a 4-wheeler.
Officers received additional calls. Andrew Ray Oliver was headed towards Lots Creek, so police followed and eventually found him.
He was kind of sitting on the side of the road, and when he took off, he looked back at the officers and then seemingly just went over the embankment there.
Once Oliver drove over the embankment, he and the child were thrown from the 4-wheeler. Officers were able to locate Oliver and check on the child.
The child wasn't hurt. The child was cleared by EMS and returned back to the mother.
After speaking with Oliver, police determined he was under the influence, had a firearm, and was a convicted felon.
He was charged with the kidnapping, DUI, possession of controlled substances, and convicted felon possession of firearm.
Hazard Police Chief Zach Miller says this case was transferred over to Kentucky State Police if convicted on the kidnapping charge. Oliver could face anywhere between 20 years to life in prison and could receive a 15-year sentence if he's convicted on the firearm possession by a convicted felon. A pause on a federal grant could leave more than 100 East Tennessee families without after-school care. This program provides funding for after-school programs nationwide. The YMCA of East Tennessee says they rely heavily on this money. They serve nearly 150 students a school year. Right now, those funds are on a freeze for federal government review. The YMCA says the pause could affect their families as soon as next month.
It's probably going to increase and create even more stress on those working families. Not only is it coming up fast for us to provide the service, it's coming up fast for the families to determine what they're going to be able to do with their children. So we need to give them as much notice as far as the services we can provide as soon as possible.
The Y says no one has told them how long a review may take. The organization is projecting a $70,000 gap for this fall semester. They say without the money, families might not be able to afford the after-school child care programs. Several top-tier golfers are getting some of their first swings at Hurstbourne Country Club ahead of the PGA stop in Louisville. You can expect a mix of PGA Tour players, international talent, and a few of Kentucky's own products. Some of the notable PGA names include Kevin Kistner and U of L grad Adam Hadwin. Players coming out of the Commonwealth and onto the national scene include Stephen Stallings Jr. and J.B. Holmes. Holmes talked about what this event means to him.
I think Kentucky's really kind of a sports-starved state where we have a lot of big fans with the college, and then there's not a lot of professional stuff that comes out. So I think it's great that we got a tournament out here, and hopefully we'll continue to have one for a long time.
156 golfers are expected to compete in the tournament. Practice rounds will continue today. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet's Office of Highway Safety is partnering with law enforcement agencies to implement the Not So Fast Kentucky Speed Awareness Campaign. This campaign encourages drivers to slow down and obey posted speed limits to help keep everybody on the road safe. The campaign runs through July 31st. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Donald Trump are celebrating victory after last month's strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. The two leaders met in Washington last night. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised President Donald Trump for his leadership in the Middle East and presented him with a letter nominating the president for the Nobel Peace Prize. The two leaders are on a victory lap after recent joint strikes on Iran. President Donald Trump told reporters his team will soon meet with Iranian officials.
We have scheduled Iran talks, and they want to talk. They took a big drubbing.
The president is also talking about with dozens of other nations for significant taxes on imports. The move extends an initial deadline, allowing nations more time to make deals with the White House. So far, only two countries have finalized new trade agreements. Those are Vietnam and the United Kingdom. Some economists have warned that new tariffs could spark more inflation and cause an economic slowdown. Yesterday marked 6 months since a pair of deadly and destructive wildfires erupted in Southern California. The Eaton and Palisades wildfires combined burned more than 37,000 acres and damaged or destroyed more than 16,000 structures. At least 30 people died on Sunday. Palisades residents, even affected by the fire, came together for a healing walk. Well, some folks are already announcing their intentions to run in local elections next year. State Representative Bill Wesley, a Republican from Estill County, says he'll run for state senate. He lives in the 30th district, which is currently represented by Senator Brandon Smith of Hazard.
All right, temperatures right now are in the 60s and 70s across the area. You can see Clintwood is at 64, 68 in Grundy, 72 in Pikeville. Here's your travel forecast. If you have plans to go to any amusement parks, you can see right there temperatures in the upper 80s and low 90s. The travel forecast across the state has temperatures in the 80s and 90s. Rain chances not out of the question, especially throughout eastern Kentucky. A little bit of patchy fog across the western portion of the Commonwealth. Across the region, 90s from Knoxville down to Atlanta. Huntsville seeing a storm chance, 89 in Memphis. Airport delays right now. It looks like nothing to talk about across the region. Let's take a look here at the nation as a whole. Looks like everything is a-okay. I'll have your complete first alert forecast coming up in a few minutes. Amelia.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on Mountain News this morning at 6:10.